Hello and welcome to Autosight.net. Today we'll be discussing, in simple terms, what happens in a car accident. Now, I did some research myself. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which collects figures year-round relating car accidents and fatalities, they collect all these figures and then they analyze them at the end of the year. It takes some time to get the numbers to be correct, and they really want to make sure that they get all the information right. So the most current one that I could find was the figures for 2014, and it's as follows. 170,000 drivers aged between the ages of 15 and 20 years old were injured in car accidents in 2014, which is down, of course, from 177,000 in 2013, and I think that's a big claim of safety of technology and education working together. So let's talk about this. Now, in 2014, 29,989 fatal accidents occurred in the United States, which is pretty high. There's always going to be situations that you can't avoid, but a lot of the fatalities are definitely preventable. But we'll go into that in a later video. This is a simple explanation. So, what happens in a collision? There's four basic parts of a collision. Part one is when the vehicle that is in motion comes into contact with an object, whether that be another car, a building, a wall, a pole, what have you. So that's the first part of the collision. The second part of the collision is the collision that happens to the person. So the person's inside the vehicle, he comes into contact with whatever object they come in contact with. For the car, now the person himself is inside the vehicle. He comes in contact with the seatbelt, the airbag if they're lucky. If they're not lucky, then it's going to be the windshield, the dashboard, the steering wheel, the window, the A-pillars. Those are hard objects that oftentimes lead to best case scenario concussions, worst case scenario fatalities. The third one is something that most people don't even think about. It's actually what happens to you internally. So you've been stopped by the airbag or by the seatbelt. Your internal organs, however, are still traveling at the same speed your car was. Everyone's under the impression that your organs are with you. Yes, they are. They're with you, but they also have their own force. They have their own inertia because they're all floating. All your organs are floating. Your brain's floating. All your soft tissues are floating. So when you go from 0 to 40 miles, or from 40 to 0 miles an hour, your body is still going that speed. So now your physical body, your actual exoskeleton, has been stopped by the seatbelt or by the airbag. Your internal organs, however, are still in motion. So they'll come in contact with your bones, other organs. That leads to internal bleeding. There's also, of course, the practical internal bleeding because of the fact that you're using a seatbelt or an airbag system. While that saves your life, it also has the ability to also cause internal injury. And part four is the movement of other objects in the vehicle that are now become projectiles. So you see, and I'm sure you've all seen it, you see people who put things on their rear deck, right behind their rear seats. That's cute. The problem with that is, in the event of a severe collision, all those objects are going to be airborne. So the books, those little crowns you see behind them, sometimes you see people have little crowns, anything. Even I've heard of cases where even small objects that are normally, harmless, Kleenex boxes, have actually killed people because of the fact of how much force is they're being hit with. So something to keep in mind, and it's something that most people don't think about when they're driving a vehicle. I know something that I wouldn't think about if I didn't know what I knew previously. You have to be really careful, and to be careful with what you have in your vehicle that's not restrained. Anything can be a weapon, and when you're in a collision that's violent, you're going from 50, 60 plus miles an hour to 0. It's a lot of forces, and everything in your vehicle is still moving at that force until it comes into contact with something to slow it down. Unfortunately, all too often it's a person. And that's when you have a lot of severe injuries, and that's when you get a lot of your fatalities. So this is a pretty quick, simple video. It was really just more meant to give you some stats to keep in mind as you're trying to, you know, better your habits and increase your safety level. But it's just something to keep in mind that when you have something in your vehicle, especially if it's heavy, there's been people who've been killed by bowling balls because they had their bowling ball in the vehicle at the time, and the bowling ball actually came in contact with the person. So it's just something to keep in mind. And you need to keep in mind what you have in your vehicle at all times. And if you do have to transport something that's heavy or something that is possibly lethal, then you need to make sure that it's restrained. Accidents don't take a blink of an eye, and the amount of damage done is it's amazing. It really is. So I'm gonna leave you with that today. But next time I will definitely be going more into some safety messages and some ways that you can avoid such accidents. Enjoy your day. Thank you.